Our coverage begins in Madrid with correspondent Sarah Morris. Sarah, what's a 20-hour blackout like?
It feels pretty unsettling, that's for sure. It certainly shows you how reliant we are on our phones and the internet. And really, this in part of Madrid, the north of Madrid, was like many in the rest of the capital. People were scurrying around to try to find radios, old-fashioned radios with batteries, trying to find out exactly what was going on. And they didn't know what was the cause of that power outage and how long it would last. We saw people walking miles, François, to pick up their children to get home from work. The trains and metros weren't operating, and tens of thousands of people across the country had to be rescued from those trains. And some people actually had to stay the night in stations like Atocha in Madrid, but many others opened specifically to let people who couldn't get home sleep out in them, and that was really quite unsettling for many people. The worst affected were the vulnerable, and we understand that as many as 5 people may have died as a result of some of the consequences of power outages, including a family that were using a faulty generator, and somebody else whose oxygen machine needed that vital electricity. And given the scale of the outage, François, it probably is a miracle that no more lives were lost. The hospitals continued to use generators and to triage and to handle emergency cases only. And many people talking today at just how much common sense ordinary Spaniards showed as they went about their business, and many of them driving around big main roads with no traffic lights, managing to let people across the roads in an orderly way, and many people managing to help and show generosity to their neighbours, even as they complained that they didn't have very much information. The Prime Minister coming onto people's radios at 6 o'clock in the evening, well into that outage that started just after noon.
All right, so a lot of questions to answer. And of course, the first question is, what exactly happened?
Exactly, and there's been a lot of speculation. Some kind of cyber attack was the worry that was in many people's minds. And you heard the electricity grid operator has seemed to discard that. He said that one of the spokesmen for the operator said that there was no sign that there had been some kind of intrusion into the network, seeming to rule that out. However, the High Court, the top court of Spain, is already investigating any possibility that there could have been foul play to do with that outage. And the Prime Minister, Pedro Sánchez, has promised that he will get to the bottom of this. He has said that he wants any private operator that may have had a part in this to take its share of the responsibility. So we will certainly see quite a sweeping investigation, but all sorts of theories to do with whether renewable energy could be more volatile, Spain being a big user of those solar panels, whether that could have made the grid more volatile, because the grid operator has said that there were 2 disconnections on the generation side in the southwest of the country, and that it will take them a while to find out exactly where that came from.
All right, yeah, and the irony is it's happening 6 months to the day after those floods that devastated particularly the south and the Valencia region. For more, we're joined by Ana Navarro Pedro, correspondent for Portuguese media. Of course, this was the entirety of the Iberian Peninsula that was hit. What are the reactions that you've been hearing from associates and loved ones?
Well, from friends and family, everybody is okay, but they had some scares. One was caught up in a lift, going down or going up, I don't know, in a big building, a high building, and they waited a while before they got some help to get out, but mainly people, like in Spain, people kept calm. Didn't know how long this would last. It was the main worry about the food in the refrigerators, about jobs, going places. So people were a bit upset, but things went back to normal during the night in this morning. But we are still trying to find out how many people may have been affected in hospitals, how many people may have their health, their life in danger because of this very abrupt power cut. Many information will come out in the next few days.
A crisis of this magnitude is, of course, a crisis of leadership, and we heard the Prime Minister of Portugal reacting a short while ago. This after criticism from the far right. Let's take a listen.
It is thus also important to note, in the face of yesterday's criticism regarding our dependence on Spain, that the problem that was caused was in no way about an inability to produce or supply power, but rather with the connection.
It's not us, it's Spain?
That's what he's saying. That apparently it might be that, although I don't understand, and some people don't understand how there are firewalls. You know, there are firewalls in France, for instance. That's why the sudden collapse of the grid in Spain did affect the French regions next to Spain, but not the rest of France, because the firewalls prevented the rest of the grid going down. And in Portugal, there are firewalls as well. And we still have to find out why they didn't work in Portugal, okay? But apparently, yes, it started in Spain. There was this abrupt drop in production around 12:30 yesterday. The system, the power grid reacted as it's supposed to. It went down and it reconnected. And there was a second drop after that, and that second drop was fatal. Just in the time of 3 minutes. But you know, in Portugal, the thing is, Portugal is on campaign for elections in May. So all the explanations, all the interventions now are all targeting the elections and the election outcome. So we don't have the information, more accurate information that the Spanish are having right now.
All right, and the argument over who's to blame, it's spilling over beyond the Iberian Peninsula. We had the front cover of the Daily Telegraph this Tuesday saying it's the fault of more renewables being put into the grid. Your thoughts on that?
They are not the only ones saying it. Portugal is not saying it, but Portugal say, look at Spain, because the problem came from there. But I believe, as I said, that we also have to look at ourselves, okay? Yes, they are saying that Spain may have lacked, I say may have lacked, the technical and technological upgrades of their power grid necessary to go from renewables to fossil energy. They did it last week. And it's true in Portugal, for instance, that has over 60-70% of our energy produced at home is with renewables. We know, for instance, that if you have 2 gigawatt produced by a fossil central, if you want to have the same energy produced by renewables, you have to produce 7 gigawatt with renewables, because you don't have the same quantity of production every minute, every hour.
And you need a stable grid.
You need a stable grid.
Sarah Morris, your thoughts on even the British weighing in on this?
Yes, because potentially the British may feel, at least in the Telegraph, they may feel that there's some angle on this being a kind of European Union push towards renewables, and that if that produces a more vulnerable grid, then that's something that could be a benefit of the Brexit, as some of the Telegraph analysts might see it. But I think that we've certainly seen here people talking about whether that is being misused, the argument that having more nuclear might have protected the French grid in a way it didn't protect the Spanish one, that is a fallacy, that it is too early to draw those sorts of conclusions. But it is certainly true that there's a big discussion about the energy mix, the push towards renewable energy in many countries, and in Spain it's a big part of the energy mix. Does that mean that there has to be some tinkering or management of the grid and the operations? And we've certainly seen that the far-right party Vox is taking that some of that line in that it is woke to be turning off nuclear and relying on renewables.
What is certain, and this is older than it's an argument that goes back decades, is how much Europe's grid is integrated, and the Iberian Peninsula often feels left out.
Yes, but it was good as well when prices of electricity went up due to a tariff grid as well, absolutely nonsensical. Portugal and Spain managed to get out and to be, and to have electricity much cheaper a few years ago. So that was good for us as well. No, but the thing about the renewables, I mean, in Portugal there is not a debate, you study at one point how far we can go with renewables, how much is more expensive, how much does it cost more, because ultimately the consumer has to pay for it. So there is this discussion, do we need to go farther? We are at 70% now of production. We have to import from Spain because we've closed up all of our coal centrals, energy centrals, and so we have to import more from Spain. And we see, is it good to keep going up? 2 years ago, 1.5 years ago, we went on for a whole week only with renewable energy used in the country, consumed in the country.
Wow.
But it's expensive. We can do it, but it's expensive. What is the right financial mix? Because, as I said,
the right security mix is, of course,
and the security mix, and you have to be sovereign as well. So there are many
a lot of arbitration
issues
to come, and of course we're waiting on those investigations, which are just at their starting point. Ana Navarro Pedro, Sarah Morris in Madrid, many thanks for joining us.